PR Connections Radio presents. This episode of We Have the Power is brought to you by Classy Communications PR and Advertising. Classy Communications provides public relations and marketing solutions for businesses, professionals, and non-profit organizations. They can deliver the true meaning of your business with press releases, social media marketing, web development, email marketing, book publishing, and much more. Wherever your potential clients are, they can help you connect with them. Visit classycommunications.net to learn more about their suite of services that can help your business stand out from the rest. Classy Communications is your solution for business success.
Well, hi to We Have the Power once again. I'm your host, Brian Gardner. And after this message in just a moment, that's very important, we are going to be talking about being the head of a performing group, part one. So stay tuned for that. We'll cover some very valuable information. If you're in a band, want to start a band, want to be the head of a band, right after this important message. I'll be right back. It has been said that young people are the future of any country or any world. I believe that's true, and if you do, then together we know that we must invest in our young people. One of the best ways we can invest in them is by obtaining the booklets from the drugfreeworld.org Truth About Drugs campaign. The booklets, especially on marijuana, come in English, of course. This is something that is out there and is talked about a lot in the media, but it also comes in Spanish. And then there is a book that is a compilation book. And this one is very important because it covers things like alcohol abuse, ecstasy. We know that cocaine, crystal meth are things that are dangerous. Inhalants can be abused. And also heroin, LSD, and even prescription drugs. So it's very important to get these booklets that give information about what these drugs and what alcohol abuse will do. They don't say don't take them, which oftentimes turns young people off. They tell everyone who reads these booklets what this kind of activity will do. And in that way, we're investing in our young people and investing in the future of our country and this world. Just go to drugfreeworld.org and get these free booklets right away. Very good idea. We're going to cover some of that as I do these three parts on how you might want to conduct yourself being the head of a performing group or a performing band. Certainly drugs, you don't want to have a part of that because that causes problems in the band and that sort of thing. And we'll get into that a little bit later. So what we're going to cover today, I think you may want to watch this again or take notes. I have been a performing musician since 1969 for over 50 years. And what I want to share with you is some of the pitfalls and some of the good things I've found that can help you if you want to be or are the head of a performing band or any kind of performance group. What we're going to cover today is pretty much for bands: the instrumentation, the personnel, the set list, and the rehearsals. So let's get started. Instrumentation. If you're going to be the head of a band, you got to decide if you're going to be a trio with just bass, drums, and guitar, and that's fine. Or are you going to be a band that has banjo, mandolin, saxophone, other instruments like that? And you should actually sit down and say, okay, what kind of music do I want to play? Okay, what kind of instrumentation, am I going to need? Now, one of the key things today, because of the advent of how much they can cram into a very small space, having a keyboard player is really a good idea, pretty much no matter what kind of music you play, unless you want to do just a three-piece group. Because with a keyboard, today's keyboards can produce saxophones, they can produce strings and organs and piano in a portable device that is very light and easy to bring to performances. So that's something to consider for sure, because then you can have these sounds without having to have 25 musicians in your band to produce all the sounds that you want to. I am not an advocate of getting rid of people playing violins or fiddles that are real, but sometimes in a particular song, you just need some strings or you need some organ, and that's why a keyboard can be very helpful. With drummers, now I've been a drummer since 1969, and I know very well that many drummers get way too loud. They will not quiet down. They have all these things around them. They think they're supposed to play all these things all the time, where the best drummers know that they're supposed to stay out of the way of the vocalist, stay out of the way of the instrumentalist. When a lead guitar is playing, you're not supposed to be da 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 da. You know, you're just holding the beat down. Okay. And to some drummers, that seems boring. To me, it was always a challenge to see if I could be a team player. So that's the kind of drummer you want to look for. And we'll get into that when we get into personnel next. But make sure that you know pretty much the kind of instrumentation that you are looking for. And Craigslist is a good place to find musicians. Going out to open mic nights is a good way to meet other musicians who might be looking to be in a band. Now, let's go into personnel, and this can be very difficult if you are a person that gives up easily. I have a band called Manzanita with 7 members now, myself and 6 other members. And I had to go through 31 musicians to find the musicians I have now who don't have any attitude, don't have health problems, and there's nothing wrong with a person if they have health problems, but that can be a detriment to arriving for rehearsal or performances. No issues with drugs or alcohol, just really spectacular people. I have fronted this band for 17 years. It is the best version of Manzanita I've ever put together. I'm not here on We Have the Power to promote my band. What I'm here to do is help you with pitfalls and successful things I've done if you are in a band or are the head of a band. So in personnel, you must always, just trust me in this. If you meet somebody on Craigslist and they send you an email and you respond back to them, get their phone number, give them a call on your cell phone, or if you still have a landline because you do some business from home like I do. I work for the family printing business, so I have the headset. It makes it easy. So get their phone number and call them and have a phone conversation with them. And you need to listen to what they're saying, what they talk about. Do they have a good car? Do they expect to smoke pot at the rehearsal? It's not going to happen. If they smoke cigarettes, could you please go out on the porch? Because if you don't smoke, well, I don't smoke cigarettes. So I tell them, if they're going to have to smoke, they're going to go out on the porch. We are going to be playing live performances. One musician told me he didn't ever want to interact with the audience. He wanted to only interact with other musicians. Well, he didn't last very long. Some people had issues about driving too far to get to rehearsal. It's better if you have them at your house so you can control the timing, especially if you have other jobs you have to do and different things. I like it that they come to my house. It makes it easy. Now, the reason for the phone call is you want to make sure this person sounds pretty straight up. You're inviting a person into your home. You don't want to be on the phone with a guy who says, hey, yeah, I just want to come by and, check things out, That sounds like a guy who's coming to your house to rip off stuff. It's great if you live in a gated community. That slows them down a little bit, which I do. But if you don't live in a gated community, you want to have a phone conversation. If they will not have a phone conversation with you, next, move on. If they sound funky on the phone, if they sound like, well, I haven't been really playing that long, I guess I could come by, tell them, all right, well, let me get back to you. That doesn't sound like somebody who would be helpful to making the band sound good. You have to screen them on the phone. So once you screen them on the phone and you feel secure, I think John Smith, Sally Jones, they're good. I'm going to bring them to rehearsal. Then you get the people who you want to be your instrumentation. You get a bass player, you get a lead guitarist. A lot of guitarists will say, I don't play lead. Well, if you need a rhythm guitarist, that's okay. But eventually you're going to have a lead guitarist. If you want percussion, you've got to have somebody who can play percussion. If you want a drummer, make sure that you tell them, here's the volume level we play at. If it's real loud, you're probably going to get complaints from your neighbors. If you play a medium volume band, let the drummer know we don't play super loud. And it's very important. You'll save yourself hours of time of bringing tons of people in. I didn't bring 31 people into my house. Many of them never made it to my house because, well, I don't really drive at night anymore. Well, if you have rehearsals during the day, that's fine. But what if you have a gig at night? You know, people have to be able to function. So you have to find out, do they have a good car? Okay. Do they have GPS on their car? Because some gigs are hard to find. These are all kind of qualifiers. Yes, I have a good car. Yes, I have GPS. Do you have your own guitar and amp? Yes, I do. Do you have a mic stand, a mic? Yes, I do. Okay. Music stand. Okay. And you get them to bring their own mic stand and their own music stand, preferably their own mic, so they're not spitting into your mic. You know, I have them bring a mic. But a lot of times I start out without having anybody on mics just to be able to hear them. Okay, so that's that. Personnel. If you have other questions for me on personnel, my email is bgardner2323@yahoo.com. bgardner2323@yahoo.com. Send me an email. Please be respectful. Don't send me, the latest vacuum. I'm not interested. Okay. Be mannerly that I've given you my email. Send me a question about personnel. I'll try to answer it. Let's move on to the set list. If you're starting the band and there's nobody in the band, well, then you can have the members who you screened on the phone to your house sit down for a couple minutes and say, what songs do you guitarist, do you know any songs that you'd like to play? Okay, that's good. And what I use, even because of my age, I'm 73, I tend to like paper because it's functional. It's easy. The battery doesn't wear out and you can't see the material. So I have our songs on sheets to begin with. And I take responsibility. If there's 3 musicians, I make enough sheets for the song we're going to work on that day. So everybody can go, oh, here's what the chords are. Here's what the lyrics are. It just makes it really simple. If you count on other people to remember to bring, did you bring the lyric sheet? Oh, I forgot it. Okay. Just handle it yourself if you're the head of the band. Okay. So let's say you have 5 songs that you're going to work on in this 2 or 3 hour rehearsal. Now, here is where bands lose so much time. Talking. I got to go to the bathroom. I got to get something to drink. Talking. Pretty soon the 3 hours is up and you haven't done anything. So if you're the head of the band, politely, you want to keep things moving along. And be willing to accept ideas from your fellow musicians. They may have a good idea. Let them know that you'll evaluate all ideas. And if someone says, I think we should play out in the backyard, it's a nice day. No, we're not doing that because that's going to let neighbors know that I have musical instruments. Some ideas you're going to squash that aren't productive, that aren't going to help the band get the songs learned. Well, we're not going outside today. We're going to stay right here. And during rehearsals, if you're the head of the band, you should be the one who emails them in advance. I call it a one sheet. They know exactly what songs we're going to go over. They can prepare themselves a little bit by listening on YouTube, or maybe I have a recording that I have sent them of one of my originals so they can be up to speed. It saves a lot of time at rehearsals if you, in fact, will prepare like this. So I mentioned a second ago that oftentimes members or other musicians will come up with a great idea. And you want to be open to that. Makes them feel like they can contribute. You don't want to be, hey, look, I make all the decisions. Don't give me any ideas at all. I don't want them. No, that's no good. People feel like he's a ruler. He's a dictator. What you want to do is you want to say, if you have an idea, let me know. Now, in my band, I was trying to get a lot of songs learned, and I forgot something very important. Gradients. You start here, and you move here, and then you move here, and you move here, and you move here. Right up there by that top part of the screen. You don't go, well, here's the song, boom, that's not going to work. Gradients. You go through the songs. So this particular member of my band, female, said, why don't we just work on 2 or 3 songs each rehearsal, get those down, then we'll move on to the next one. And it was just absolutely brilliant. I was getting a little bit in mode of let's crush the song, I'm glad she mentioned that, and I accepted what she said, and I validated her for it in front of the other band members, gives her more self-confidence, and that's working really good for us. Now, let's say you get 5 musicians that you really like, everybody's clicking along, then what's going to happen is a couple of musicians are going to rise to the top. In our band, we have a female singer by the name of Sarah, and I had a friend come in to record some demos for us. He's going to open up for us. That's kind of our trade-off with him. And he, after the whole band left, he stood around for a little bit. He said, Brian, get Sarah singing more songs. She has a great voice. She looks good. Get her out there more. And that was great advice from him. And that's what I'm doing. I'm getting her to sing more, because she has a great voice. So once you have your 5 musician, let's say you're going for a 5 musician band or 4, once you have your musicians that you're keeping, then start looking. If you're the head of the band, start looking. Wait a minute, who? I have 2 guitarists. This guy plays really good leads. Without invalidating the other guitarist, hey, I want you to play rhythm. You really hold things down nice with the bass player and the drummer. And I'm going to have Charlie do some of the leads. Now, if you want to start playing leads, practice and then show me what you can do, and it's totally fine. We can have 2 lead guitars. You see how that puts the work on his shoulders, but you haven't invalidated him. Because if he comes back next week and does a killer lead, you've promised him he can play lead on this song or the other song. So everything's cool. If you say, you don't really play lead that good, so I'm going to make you the rhythm guitarist, right away he feels like, oh man, don't do that. Say, Charlie, I'm going to have you play rhythm on songs for right now. And then when you show me on a particular song you'd like to play lead, practice it, bring it to the table and play lead. And hey, if it sounds good, you can play lead on that. Fine. Right now, I'm going to have Pete play the leads because he's been playing lead guitar for a long time. Bass player, just kind of, if you have some ideas on what you want him to play, let him know. I try not to tell people every single note to play. But on my originals, I have an idea in my head of how I want it to sound, so I give them a little bit of feedback. On the covers, we play it pretty close to how the original song was released because people are expecting that. But there's a couple songs we do our own versions of, but they can tell it's the same song, same chords, same lyrics. We don't go too far from it. We like the song, the traditional song, Kansas City. We wouldn't go, Kansas City, here I come. It'd just be weird. People go, what is that? You kind of keep it the same or similar. Now, when you're at rehearsal, you go through the song and you may stop a few times while you're playing the song to say, hey, in that verse, make it a little quieter, or don't bring the drums into the second verse, or whatever arrangement you want to do. And if you're not good with arrangements, you don't have to say, I'm not good with arrangements. You can just say, hey, you guys, help me with the arrangement here. Do you think the drums should come in on the second verse maybe? Let the song kind of breathe first. That kind of thing. keeps them looking up to you as the leader of the band, but you've gotten their help on the arrangement, and they like that because they feel like they're contributing. Very important that fellow musicians feel that they're contributing to the band. If somebody suggests a song, we're going backwards a little bit to the set list for a minute. If somebody suggests a song that has horn and organ and who knows what, something that you can't do, and the other band members like the song and you do too, don't immediately just throw it out. Say, wait a minute, let's try our own version of this. I know it has horns and it has this and other things in it that we don't have. Let's try our own version of it, see if it works. Some songs just flat out, you can go over and over it and it just isn't working. I remember one rock band I was in, we tried to do a Steely Dan song, and a lot of their accents are off beat, like 19 and that kind of thing. And these rock guys I was playing with, they just could not hit those accents. And I just dropped it. Because if you keep pushing it, they're going to feel invalidated. They're going to be frustrated. And that's not good for the whole group to have a frustrating thing floating in the air. Don't do that. If the song just isn't working, regroup on it later, figure out what it needs, or drop it. Okay. Now, a lot of times people will have favorite music they like. And if you have 4 musicians, you might have 4 desires. How do you keep everybody happy? Well, you do some songs of each person. The trouble becomes if someone writes their own music and they bring a song that you can tell it just isn't developed. And it is not being played good. It isn't really a good song. It's not because of your opinion. If your fellow musicians detect that it's just your opinion, then they'll feel like you're squelching their creativity. But if the song just won't work and you know it won't work, you've got to say, can you keep working on that song? Bring it back to me in a couple of weeks. I think it can be developed further to be a really good song. Then they will go off and they will evaluate it themselves, and they'll either bring it back or they'll realize it isn't a good song and they'll drop it. Now, if they continue to push it and the song doesn't really change, you can say, well, we can try that song. And if you play it live and the audience just doesn't react to it, you're going to have to say, Ben, William, Smith, Gail, Tom, whatever his name is, that song just isn't working. Did you notice there was just no applause after that song? So I want to put that on the back burner for now, have you keep developing it, and we'll look at it again in a couple of months, see what you can do with it, maybe to get a different beat on it or something. And hopefully that person won't bring 5 other songs that are equally as bad, because then they're going to start feeling bad. But you don't want to present songs that just aren't going to connect with the audience. That's something that's very important. Same with the covers. You want to make sure the covers you pick are not too weird. You want to make sure if you're going to play for general audiences, then you want to make sure you're picking covers that have a good beat. Lyrics people can sing along with, people like to sing along with. And you want to encourage the audience to sing along at certain points too. They feel connected. They feel a part of the band. That makes them like the band better. So that's something to keep in mind with the set list. So let's review what I went over. We've got about 5 minutes left in the show today. Instrumentation. If you're starting a band, sit down by yourself with the TV off, the radio off, and just in a quiet space and go, what instrumentation do I want in this band? What kind of music are we going to play? We're going to play rock or country or folk or acoustic or metal. What are we going to play? Then make sure that you always have a phone conversation with prospective band members before you invite them into your home, so you can make sure that you're not wasting time with a musician that's not going to work, and it's not somebody who's going to kind of scope out what you have and is a thief. On the set list, You want to encourage the other members. Once you find out who you want to play with, you get the 4 members who you really like, elicit from them. Hey, especially the guitarists, they're the key, because if they know the song and can play the chords, you're halfway there. If people start mentioning songs, well, I don't know what the chords are, and you have a rehearsal where nobody can play any songs because nobody knows the chords, that rehearsal is not going to accomplish very much. You want to have that in advance on the phone conversation. What songs do you know? What can you bring to the table next Wednesday when we get together for rehearsal? 1 or 2 songs, so we have something to work on. And then at the rehearsals, make sure that the best idea is to send something out to each of the members. Make sure you get their email. Make sure you get their phone. They have to have a working email. They can't have an email that says, I'm sorry, the email is full. You cannot leave a message at this time. They need to keep that open. And in future, the other 2 parts of this, you'll see how important it is for them to have a working, proper cell phone. What if the gig gets moved up, canceled, or moved back? You have to get in touch with all the musicians. You can't have someone in the band really who doesn't have a cell phone, or you can't reach them on the way to the gig. Hey, they want us to play an extra hour. They want us to start later or earlier. And you don't want to do this while you're driving. You want to have hands free, of course. Of course. Or pull over if you don't have hands free. Do not get on the phone while you're driving. You don't want to destroy your future by injuring somebody. At the rehearsals, make sure they're focused. The best thing to do is send a one sheet. Send a email to all the 4 members who you like. You have their email. Say, here's what we're going to cover. Make sure you listen to these 3 songs. These are the ones we're going to go over. Here's what time to be there. Here's my gate code. I have amps. You don't have to bring amps, or maybe they do need to bring amps. Tell them what they need to bring. And watch who brings what they're supposed to. If one person continually was told to bring stuff and they keep forgetting it, that's something to note. Are they going to forget stuff to a performance and make you look bad in front of the person that hired you? You've got to have responsible, dependable people. Okay, so that is what we're going to cover, what we wanted to cover today, what I wanted to cover today. Now, in future, I want to let you know with just a couple minutes left, in future segments, the 2nd and 3rd segments, I want to let you know, because you may want to watch these, because there's some good things I'm going to go over. Number 2, we are going to talk about performance dates, getting ready for performances, what do you do during performances and after performances, and other items such as that. In part 3, we are going to be going over an overview of a band and the vital business side of it. Many musicians have never run a business or had any knowledge about the business side of anything. If you run the business side of a band properly, you will open so many doors. You will get hired again and again and again. And I will go over that in part 3 of being the head of a performing band. But these things are all important. I have used them successfully in the over 50 years that I've been a performing musician. So you want to make sure that you jot some of this down, things that are meaningful to you. The other thing I didn't go over too much, but I want to mention in the last couple of minutes here, is scheduling. People have jobs. You got to find which day the band can get together, all of them. You don't want to have 2 members, 1 member, 2 members, 3 members, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2. You know, if you have 4 members of the band, you got to find a day when all 4 of them can get together. And the rehearsal has got to be more than an hour. Because when you get there and chat a little bit, pretty soon you have 32 minutes if you only schedule an hour. Make it 3 hours. That is about the right time or more that rehearsal should be. And you will find that your band will be successful. It will be fun. You will keep the members you have, and you will expand and expand and expand and put a lot of music out there which really is good for the world because it makes people happy. And that's a good thing to do as a musician. I will see you next Thursday at 5 o'clock for part 2 of being the head of a band, with a lot more information that will be very helpful to you in being successful. If you're starting a band, you're the head of a band, or you're in a band. Thank you for watching.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.